That's the biggest discovery that the new era of producers made, branding themselves the same way artists did and stepping out from the shadows. And now they're here. And it's not just Metro booming, but Metro had the highest streaming album, I think, the rap album of 2023. A producer. Crazy, right? He didn't rap on a single track. What's going down, everyone? It's the At Odds podcast with EP&D, Erinn and Dame. We're back. This is only episode 5. It kind of feels like it's more like episode 50 because we've been, well, actually more like 350 because MEC, then what was it? No Pain, No Gain. And then it became the Unnamed podcast. I don't know how many episodes of that we dropped. I stopped counting. It was glorious. I didn't have to think at all. I just had to introduce the show and hit record. No numbers, no math required, no counting, nothing, none of that advanced stuff, all that academic stuff. Good morning to all of you. It's morning here, so I'm wishing my colleagues good morning, not the viewers, because you could be watching at any time you wanted. This show is brought to you by Too Lost, an amazing distribution service. If you need distribution or just want to try out a new distribution company, it's free for 3 months. Use the code ATODDS, ATODDS, on toolost.com. And if you decide not to continue with them, your music will not be deleted. And if you want to continue with them, it's only $2.99 per month after that, even less if you sign up for a year. How are you guys feeling? I know we have a lot of topics to discuss today, and Dame's super busy, as always.
Well, in addition to that, this podcast drops on a Monday, so if you're catching this podcast early, we have a private group. We're kicking off our Too Lost office hour sessions. These are live weekly sessions where we talk with, whether you're an artist, producer, label owner, manager. We're going to talk about a bunch of different topics, but, come, teach, learn, network, soak up some positive vibes. The link to that should be in the description of this video. So come rock with us. It's at 12 p.m. on Monday. If you miss it this Monday, we'll be back the next Monday. So 12 p.m. Pacific. So I look forward to getting those conversations going because those should be pretty fruitful. So bring your issues, your concerns, any topics that you want to address. We can talk about it. We're gonna have a specific topic each week, but we can have like an open Q&A at the end. So hope to see a lot of y'all soon. But yeah, definitely. This is my first day back in the office from the break. Didn't really feel like a break because was working a lot. But the holidays were cool. I'm healthy and ready to attack the year, man. Let's get a lot done this year. Let's take things to the next level.
Yeah, I'm also great. I'm currently on vacation, family vacation with Brandon, my business partner, his wife and son, and then my best friends and all of their kids. So it's like a great family vacation. So I've found a hiding place away from the noise to come podcast. But I'm hoping that this sets the precedence for my year, that it's full of rest and joy and lots of great things. But I have also been working most of the break, but it's the first time that I've really been channeling a lot of intentional energy towards something since about November when we co-produced a festival in Tulsa. So I feel like I got to take part of November and part of December off. So I didn't super mind working during the break. One of the things we're working on that I'll bring to note is a crash course that we're doing in person in Nashville. It's called the Soundtrack to Success. This is for artists who are looking to really gear up this year and say, hey, I don't want to play any games. I have all these goals. I refuse to let another year go by without me hitting my goals. So we're here to help you with marketing, strategy, all those things. But the intro in the beginning, most of it is about your mindset and about setting your intentions and making sure that you really don't just say, I'm going to do this. You have the mental tools and the capacity to follow through, and then to aggregate resources. We'll be teaching a lot about different things. But one of the things that we will hit on in that crash course that I'm not really planning on spending a ton of time on, that it seems like y'all are really interested in, is rollout strategy. So I want to talk about that first as our first topic today. I asked y'all a couple of weeks ago, what do you want to know about the most? What are y'all's burning questions? And I thought that we were going to get a lot of a more vast variety of topics. But even in my DMs, people have been like, hey, can you talk about rollout strategy? So I do want to hear from Payne and Dame their opinions on it. But I have kind of a wide stroke that I think about rollout strategy. I think about everything with an artist as a holistic approach. I can't just say, hey, there's a song coming out tomorrow or next week. If I have a really great rollout strategy, the song will blow. All of that is circumstantial. You may have a song that takes off just by happenstance. But truth of the matter is, I think that the best part of rollout strategy is understanding the artist brand and your long-term goals and tying that in. So if you have one song, is this part of a whole body of work? Is it really just a single? If it is just a single, what do you plan on the follow-up being? More than what's happening prior to the song dropping, I think the most important thing is what's happening after the song is dropping. Do you lose steam after 2 weeks because it hasn't been streamed millions of times? Or do you get excited because it does get a million streams, but then you don't have a follow up for it? So I think to me, one of the most important components of rollout strategy is having a holistic long-term strategy around your music. And when I say long-term, I'm not necessarily talking about your 10-year plan or your 5-year plan, but what are you planning for the next 6, 8 to 12 months? How does this song roll into building your whole artist brand? And then what can you do to start putting drops in the bucket? Again, I live off of and teach all the artists that I work off of a critical mass theory, 1,000 fans willing to spend $100 on you. So do you have 1,000 fans who are even willing to go give your song a stream? If you don't have that, there's more brand building and community building that needs to happen. But on the technical side, I can give y'all a quick rundown of rollout strategy things. One is making sure all the links in bio are correct and up to date, right? If you're going to drop a song and you don't have a link in bio and it's just a Spotify link, that's a missed opportunity. I think only like 30% of streamers worldwide, something like that, use Spotify. So you're looking at, and that's not even their, some of them not their main source. So you have YouTube, Apple Music, all those things. So you should have a smart link leading people to that. If you are in Africa or have a strong fan base over there, you need Boomplay in your bio as well, because that's a huge place for you to stream. Also, what's the name of the one that Z owns? AudioMac. You should definitely be using AudioMac. They report to Billboard. For the most part, for listeners, it's a free service. So there's an opportunity to, they post or put people on playlist a lot. There's a trending wave that you can get on if you get 1,000 listens within the first 24 hours, I think. So then you get on their trending charts. And so then people looking for music in your genre get to see you. So having an up-to-date link in bio, updating your profile picture matters on all of your DSPs, posting the song in your feed and then pinning it, whether it be Twitter, Instagram. All those things are really, really simple things. But again, I think when it comes to rollout strategy for me, it's like, who are you as an artist? What does this song say about you? And what is this leading to? If you're like, man, nobody's rocking with my music, it's like, well, what was the purpose of you dropping this? So those are my thoughts on rollout strategy. I think it's hard for me to pinpoint a specific strategy that I follow, because for me, I'm more so looking at the overall artist and how does this tie into their business plan. I think I approach music a little bit differently than a lot of people. I use music as a loss leader. So to me, it's part of the marketing plan. Music is marketing for you as a brand, and that's how I see it. So when I go into the rollout strategy, I'm like, what portion of the marketing plan is this for the overall brand? So I would love to hear Dame, especially coming from a DSP, and then Payne coming from, Dame coming from a distributor, and then Payne coming from an artist perspective. I would love to see what y'all's thoughts are on rollout strategy as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be tough to cover everything in a single podcast about rollout strategies. But typically what I look for from artists is a regular cadence of releases and kind of like a system of what you do prior to something comes out, when something comes out, and then your promotion after it comes out. And, those things should be consistent, whether it's okay, before I put this song out, I'm going to tease it like this. I'm going to send out a text marketing blast to let people know it's coming. When it comes out, I'm going to have these videos, these types of videos when it drops. And then a few days after, I'm going to do these things. So there's a ton of things that you do prior to when you drop it and then afterwards. And then some of those can be pretty standard from artist to artist, but then also what I'm always thinking about is like, what is the story of this artist? And like what are the things that you're going to do like super different to tell your story, right? So for example, maybe part of your story is being hella broke and being on food stamps. Like, this is a super random example, but like maybe part of your story is like, I'm broke, I'm on food stamps. You get your food stamps every first of the month. Maybe that's when you drop your song, because that's when you get your food stamp. That's when, you know, that's just part. Your rollout strategy is actually part of your story, right? Maybe 7 is a number that is special to you for some reason. So you're dropping songs on every 7, on the 7th, on the 17th, and the 27th. Right, it's things like that I think can be super creative to start telling your story, depending on what that is, and you can bake that into your rollout strategy to be part of your marketing, right? So people can start to learn, okay, school is a big part of this person's rollout strategy. So I know when I go back to school, there's probably going to be a big event or something because it's back to school day or whatever. You know, hopefully that makes sense. But those are some of the more creative things that I look for, that I don't think artists really do that much or well. But you should have a regular cadence of releases these days. I don't think you can avoid that at this point. Like, at least a drop a month, you know, at least a song a month, you know, so that you can start building catalog, so that when something does pick up, you know, people have a bunch of songs to go back and listen to. And you're starting to get your reps in, getting comfortable, building your system of what you're going to do prior to when you release and after your release. So, because you might want to fine tune those things over time. You might want to add to. I don't really typically ever take away of something that I do. I typically only add to, right? So if I meet somebody, when I was running Funk Volume, I would have like my blast to like fans, and then I would have like my blast to like industry folks that I met, right? And I would have different messaging to those audiences. So I would only be adding to that industry list as I was meeting more people. You know, I would never really be taking away of stuff that we would do. So just continuing to refine like what those consistent things are from release to release, and then thinking more strategically and creatively about your story and how you can. And then there might be a release that, you know, maybe it's Valentine's Day is coming up. So this release is special. There's different things that we can do around that. There's different collaborations I might be able to do, or maybe this song is about the Super Bowl. You know, who can I collaborate with? What influencer, what comedian is doing Super Bowl work? Like, so start thinking bigger, start thinking more creatively, start thinking about collaborations. But yeah, rollout. Hopefully, some of that was helpful. But like, rollout strategies is tough to cover in a single podcast.
Yeah, I remember Erinn was managing an artist, and they developed a Valentine's Day rollout strategy last year, I believe, with a tea that was released that was, you know, like love themed, and then it came with the typical not Halloween, Valentine's Day candy. So I mean, I feel like that's more of the advanced branding, and you can't be serious. Hey. No, you do not eat acoustic foam. This cat, man. I feel like that's pretty higher level. Dame's just shaking his head. Higher level branding and merchandising. But just to kind of zoom out of this conversation, because I think, unfortunately, people want us to say, all right, this is how you do the rollout. First, you schedule your Spotify, you know, and like like Dame said, there are some foundational things that most people will want to do, such as schedule your upload a month in advance so you get on release radar and get the pre-save link and this and that. But that's not a rollout strategy. That's just a tool used as part of a rollout strategy. So I think really you have to get your brand, and all these things are going to change. This isn't like a static thing where you get this done and it's smooth sailing. This is always going to be dynamic, but define the brand, make sure that you know exactly, what your brand is. I mean, if you're the emo rap, cynical, nihilist, fuck love type of person, and then Valentine's Day comes around and you do some lovey-dovey promotion like Erinn's artist did, it's not going to add up to what you've painted yourself to be as an artist and as a person. So you might maybe have your candies look like broken hearts or something like that. But again, this is very specific stuff for specific people. You need to define your brand based on whoever you are. I think a lot of artists either, I don't know, they do too little or they do too much when it comes to defining their brand. When you ask them, who are you? Well, I'm a rapper, I'm a sports fan, I'm a spiritualist, I'm an athlete, I'm a businessman. It's just like, number one, no, you're not all those things. Number two, let's narrow this down to a couple things that you're really passionate about and that you want to build community around. You can connect your music and your story to. Or they'll do too little and be like, I'm just a regular guy. Why don't I just market myself as a regular guy? Well, because that's asinine. So it takes a lot of internal dialogue, and don't be afraid to ask for input from people around you. That might be your first step towards building a team. And then after you get that branding right, then you build your first system, which could be, this is my release cadence. This is how I'm going to do it for now. This is what my art's going to look like. This is the level of consistency at which I'm going to release not just music, but content. I'm going to do a video on Wednesday and a new song first of the month, and a music video every quarter. Whatever the system is, create this system that includes all of your marketing, including, and I think SMS marketing, email marketing, social media, all that should probably be a part of your strategy, unless there are some insane circumstances that make your situation really unique and you don't use any of those. I think you should probably be using those. And then start building your community. And then once your community comes in, your community is going to inform your system, because you're going to see how they interact with the system that you've created. And then you change the system, and then you engage with them, really engage with them, see what they like, see who they are. Sometimes it's a matter of just asking them, hey, what do you think about this? What kind of merchandise do you want? Where should I tour? That kind of thing. But a lot of the times it's just you being actively engaging with them. You'll know and get an idea of who they are as people. And then that will inform the kind of merchandise you create. Oh, most of my fans are teenagers, male. Okay, that's going to inform the kind of merch orders I make, the sizes and styles. There's just a lot of observation that happens once you start building that fan base. Oh, if they're teenagers, I should probably stop releasing music at 10 in the morning during the academic year. There's a lot you can do. And I'm sorry, I don't have a step-by-step guide to success. The reality is it doesn't exist. And when I was starting, that's the kind of advice I wanted from people. Tell me what to do. Who do I need to talk to? What door do I need to walk through? What address do I find success at? Give me the address. And people are like, oh, you just got to keep going. Like, a lot of people give terrible advice just because they haven't thought about it. Industry professionals, when I would go to these panels, they would give really vague advice. But even when they would give good advice, it was still kind of non-specific, because they couldn't just look in the audience and give everyone their personal rollout strategy. They had no idea who we are. So that was always frustrating to me until I got to the point. It's like if someone's describing Mars and they're like, well, you'll see that thing on the left when you land. You're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's hard to describe. You have to experience it. If you haven't been to Mars, you're probably not going to understand what they're talking about. Being in the music business is like going to another planet. Once you get there, a lot of the stuff it's like adulthood. Now I know what my aunt was talking about. Now I know why my dad was always saying such and such. You get to the music business and you're there, and like you might be 5 years in. It's happened to me a bunch of times. Oh, that's what That's what they were talking about at that panel. I didn't understand it at all at the time.
In terms of like the stuff that's consistent, right? Just kind of like standard from release to release, probably for folks that, a little less experience, what are those things, right? Like it's, people should start an email list, right? And constantly adding to your email list so that you can send out an email, maybe prior to and when your release happens. And then, after your release comes out, you're going to be putting out content that promotes that, whether it's a video or, Instagram stuff, then you can email that out as well. A text marketing list, link in bio. What are some of the basics, Erinn, that outside of that, so that people have something tangible when they listen to this? It's not just like, hey, figure it out. I mean, I know we said a lot more than that, but just in terms of the basics.
Yeah, you should have some sort of visual representation of your song in the form of a video. And I'm not talking about a music video. It could be just like a visualizer. It could be something lyrical that's moving that you made on Canva. It could be your cat trying to eat studio equipment with your song playing behind it. It could really be anything. And this is when a lot of the branding comes in. I think sometimes artists are like, oh, I'm just going to perform my song and hopefully it'll blow up on TikTok. Maybe it will, but 1,000 times out of 1,001 times it won't. So what is it about your brand, or who are you? What are you trying to speak to that makes this make sense when you are putting it out into the world? So again, like Payne said, like if you hate love, and so maybe it's like you're always like, maybe your visuals have something to do with broken hearts consistently. It was crazy that you brought up the artist that I did the rollout for last Valentine's Day, because I'm literally wearing one of the merch items that dropped with that release. But yeah, I think you just have to think about everything doesn't have to come immediately with like merchandise. If you're a newer artist, especially, which I'm assuming everybody asking this question is, you should be trying to aggregate as much attention from other sources to you. So I think about Guap Dad 3000 during the pandemic. He was doing the Rona raps. So he would literally just take a popular song and rap over the beat and then tag the artist. Or now he's like just rapping over his own or beats from him and his homies. But then he's like, who do you think you could hear on this? Like, he already has an established fan base of people paying attention to him, but he feels like not enough people are paying attention to his music. So he's trying to aggregate other people's audience of listeners. So like, do a challenge or a remix on socials. Don't be too cool for that. If you feel like you share an audience with, I don't know, whoever, and don't always look for the biggest artist. Look for who has 50,000 monthly listeners who just dropped a song. Can you go and rap over that beat and be like, hey, bro, I really loved your song, yada, yada, yada. Now they're way more inclined to repost your music because they have a smaller fan base. They're looking to promote their own music. Now their fans are like, clearly into new artists, because if they only have 50,000 monthly listeners, they have a fan base that's used to listening to new people and isn't looking maybe for like Drake or whatever. So now you get some fan share from them, and you're building community with other artists. So I think when you're starting, one of the fundamental things I would say is take other people's fans, and then, and when I say take, it's like fans listen to multiple things. So it's not like a malicious thing, but take other people's fans and then support people who are doing things that you appreciate, who are smaller artists. Don't always look at the Travis Scotts or the Carol G's of the world. Look at who's the Cams and the Caleb Mitchells and I don't know, just like the smaller artists who are doing really cool things, and maybe collaborate with one of their releases or one of their songs. And then that's when you start getting people's eyes on you, paying attention to what you're doing, supporting what you're doing. So yeah, I would be trying to find out everywhere that you can maybe build community. I'd hop into the office hours with Dame. I would ask questions, and I would be interested in the other guests that are in there. I would follow them, things like that. A lot of stuff that has to do with, again, this is why I said your rollout strategy is really a really long play to building your brand and connecting with people. It's way more about what are you doing to serve your community and build with other people than it is about people coming to listen to your song one time or 10 times.
I'm a fan of like the branded releases, right? So like when Toby Nwigwe was doing the Get Twisted Sundays, that was a dope. That was a dope. That was a dope series. Um, Hobson had his Illmind of Hobsons. Those were annual. So maybe there's something that you want to do on an annual basis that's a bit bigger. My brother had his Good Morning Swizzles. I know Coda the Friend has like a branded series with his lyrics to go. Those are really dope because
Connor
people.
Price with the Spin the Globe.
Oh, that was a genius idea. Connor Price, he spins the globe, randomly picks a country, and then he finds an artist within that country to collaborate with. Right, so that's it's interesting. It's collaboration there. Like there's so many different things that you can do. This goes back to our last episode where a lot of artists call us business people, but you start to see, some of the creativity that's required to start, some of these campaigns and these releases. You got to get creative. You got to get creative. You got to understand the story that you're trying to tell. Because that part hopefully starts to be fun. Hopefully that part starts to be as fun as the music. I know it's different types of creativity, but you can really experiment and do some cool things in telling your story and trying to get your music out there.
Yeah, it's true. And just to be clear, the producers who are watching this, hopefully this is helping the artists, but producers, you need this stuff too. The branding, the community building, the rollout strategy, all that doesn't matter. I would even say some songwriters, I mean, there's nothing stopping the folks who have always existed behind the scenes from actually monetizing their brands, regardless of how front and center they are. You might find out that you like that. Who knows? But I think that was the biggest secret, not even secret. I think that's the biggest discovery that the new era of producers made, was branding themselves the same way artists did and stepping out from the shadows. And now they're here. And it's not just Metro booming, but Metro had the highest streaming album, I think, the rap album of 2023. A producer. Crazy, right? He didn't rap on a single track. And I don't think that's ever happened. But that trickles down to the internet too. There were people building the Taz Taylors and the Curtis Kings, whoever whatever producer branded themselves successfully online, managed to take all of that momentum and put it in various different other arenas and thrive in those. And sky's the limit.
If I was a producer right now, I would take whatever the most trendy soundbite from a podcast every week and just flip it and put a beat out with, like, you telling me Shannon Sharp wouldn't repost or something. If you took one of his sound bites, because he's popping right now and he's always got something wild, not wild to say, but something funny to say. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many producers really got to get creative. You guys have gotten way too comfortable just making beats in your room, not doing much else, right? I'm not saying, of course, don't attack me, producers. There are some producers out, the Kenny Beats of the world, Payne is front and center. But like, for the most part, you guys, in terms of, you guys lack more creativity than even the artists from a marketing perspective, from what I've seen. But there's so many different things that you can do because there's so much content that's created on a weekly basis. You guys should be flipping that. And there's some people that do, I can't remember, this gentleman's name that I follow, I forget, but like, break the mold. You know what I'm saying? Like, get more creative. Like, you guys have a talent, but you're not using it in a way that can get a lot more attention. So capitalize on some of these trending moments, some of these trending sounds, reach out to people, tag people in your posts, let people know that what you're doing.
Yeah, I think there's an artist. He's the graphic designer for Build Your Own Dreams. His name is, but he also makes music. And so he, when the NBA dropped their city jerseys, He was like, yo, these are trash. So he went back and remade like week over week was remaking the city jerseys. Like if I redid the Utah Jazz jersey, this is what I would do, right? So then he hit me. He's like, man, these videos are getting a lot of traction. What should I do? I'm like, keep making them and put your music behind it, but also start remaking people's album covers. Man, if I could remake Lil Wayne's album cover for X, Y, and Z, or if I could remake Fabo's album cover for, you know what I'm saying, like for the R&B singles that he just dropped. Like really start thinking about your niche. Like people who podcast, like talking heads. A common thing is taking what somebody said, clipping it up, and then responding to it. Like, how can you bring this into your world? Again, this goes into your overall brand. What do you care about outside of just your music? How can you respond to it or create around it? You know, and so is then recently he did an interview with Adidas to take a graphic role. They didn't take him, so he posted the clip that they had, basically he posted a motion graphic that he made for Adidas that they loved, but he ended up not getting the job. He was like, man, basically I had a job interview with Adidas, they ended up not taking me, but here's what I produced for them. The tweet blew up. Adidas is reposting it now. Obviously, it's a social media person, but he has hella people hitting him now. Like, yo, how much do you charge for this? X, Y, and Z. That low key may be better than a job at Adidas because he's not locked in. He can do all these freelance roles. So now he's starting to put his music behind these different clips that he's posting. So I think, one, use your other skill sets, but two, get really creative. There's so many opportunities for you to get creative. To me, with your marketing, you should be more creative. If you're naturally an artist and music just comes naturally for you, then the marketing is where you really pour your creativity and your mindset into, because there's no rules to this. If you could think, if you can dream it up, you can do it. You know what I'm saying? So don't be scared or don't feel like you have to follow a certain line through. Just get creative. What would you be interested in? What have you never seen before that you're like, hey, I could easily do X, Y, and Z. I could rewrite this R&B artist's second verse, and this is how I would do it. If Smino was on the track with me, here's how I think he would rap. You know, just there's so many different creative ways to get after it. I think people just have to spend the time thinking and spend the time marketing versus saying, I made a really cool song, I released it, and nobody responded. Help people respond to the things that you're creating by making it interesting and engaging in the way that you roll it out.
So here's an interesting exercise to go through. Once you have a solid understanding of the story that you're trying to tell, think about other people that are telling similar stories in different ways, right? Is there a videographer that's telling a similar story? Is there a painter? Is there a podcast? And then you can start to think about potentially who you might be able to collaborate with to create some really dope stuff and hit different audiences that are resonating with the same story, right? Who is that for you? Because there's so many people. I mean, there's not a shortage of people creating content these days. Like, you know, people are creating a shitload of content, and there definitely needs to be more collaboration in order to amplify your voice, amplify your story, so that you're not always just trying to do it alone, trying to capture the same attention that everybody else is trying to do. So hopefully, I think we dropped a lot in that segment. Hopefully people got, you know, at least something in there that resonates with them.
This is the last thing that I'll say, a point to Dame. When it comes to collaboration, this is what we hear a lot, which is what Dame hit on last week. Oh, there's nobody doing it like I'm doing it. Or I don't know anybody who would do it for free because I love this videographer, but he costs $10,000 per second. Do your research. You should be intaking people at your level consistently. You should be looking around you consistently. And I'm not even saying in your city, but in your city, even better. So like, make sure you're researching, make sure you're consuming other artists on your level and not just like, man, I'm trying to get here, so this is all that I consume. Networking laterally will get you way further than always aspiring for levels you haven't gotten to yet, because a lot of times people aren't necessarily looking to give you everything. You have to pay for it because they've gotten to that level. But you could find people around you who are just looking for exactly what you're looking for, a community, somebody to help them leverage what they're able to create. Form a collective, Even if you create a contract, hey guys, we're going to work together for a year. You're going to give us your video skills. You give us your beats. I'll give the raps, X, Y, and Z. But really start to study who's doing what you're doing around you, and collaborate with those people. And don't just look for your next leg up. How can you help people around you?
And don't get weird. Like, just do the work. Like, everybody's gonna win when you start looking at, well, this person's getting a little bit more than me, and this person, like, and when you take your focus off the work and you start worrying about petty stuff, like at the end, like probably right now, none of y'all made it. Y'all worrying about things that ain't even happened yet, so that things can't happen. Like, put the petty shit aside, create dope art, dope music, and hopefully you have those conversations later. Stop worrying about shit that you don't even got money, and you worried about money problems, like, or how you gonna divvy things up. So
Producers are the worst at that.
yeah.
Like they've already gotten robbed by Drake by the time they've made their second beat ever. And it's crazy to talk to them where you just hear the fear in their comments, where they'll say something like that. This is why I don't ever put beats online. I know people are going to steal my beats. I have the most original beats ever. They're going to rob me. I'm going to get nothing. My family's going to starve. And it's like, you haven't even signed up for YouTube yet. What are you talking about? So artists are the same way. I think the biggest downfall with artists, even artists, like, everyone thinks their music is amazing for the most part. And there are really kind of two sides to that. One is that it's so amazing, I'm going to just put it out and shove it down everyone's throats. And then there's the other side, which is, it's so amazing, I got to hide it from the world until everything's perfect. And shoving it down other people's throats, I mean, at least you're out there doing something. And if you're smart enough and if you're socially aware enough, you'll figure out how to refine that to make it effective. If you never put anything out, or if you're sitting on a project 3, 4, 5 years and it's just you, and you don't somehow still have an amazing team after not doing shit for 5 years, once you drop it, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be disappointing. And I see it time and time again. Like, just drop the music, because at that point you've lost your experience. You've lost contact with your community. You've probably lost all the momentum that you ever had. You've most likely grown distant from current technology and social media and certain marketing techniques that other people are using. So you jump on, a lot can change in 5 years. If you had stopped releasing music in, 2017, and you come back 5 years later, oh shit, Reels, TikTok, what's going on? So you're going to be way out of the loop. I think that's the biggest career killer ever. Just total loss of momentum. People squirrel themselves away, hide their music from the world, and then say some stupid shit like, well, that's what Weeknd does. Rihanna hasn't dropped it. Bitch, you are neither of those people. Become Rihanna, become Kendrick, become J. Cole, become, whoever hasn't dropped an album in forever. Become Jay-Z. And then you can have that conversation. They're fine if they never drop music again. You don't have a lingerie line. Stop playing yourself. Can we transition to a kind of terrifying topic?